Mere hours ago, the polls closed and the votes are being counted for this year's coordinated election. I'm Rebecca Jacobson, and we'll have all the results for you on this special election results edition of Your City Now. We'll be presenting the election results that were current as of the recording of this program and that were supplied by the Denver Elections Division. So let's get started. For this election, Denver voters were asked to decide on 4 Denver Public School Board directors. First up, the Director-at-Large position, which represents all the DPS school districts. There were 3 candidates in this race. In ballot order, the current results are Julie Banuelos with 21.4% of the vote, Robert Speth with 35.6%, and Barbara O'Brien with 42.9% of the vote. This district is in South Central and Southwest Denver, and the current results are Angela Cobayan with 54.4% of the vote, and Sochi Gaitan with 45.5%. Next, in the race for the DPS board representing District 3, there were also 2 candidates. This district includes Central and East Central Denver. Here are the current results in this race. Carrie Olson garnering 51% of the vote, and Mike Johnson coming in with 48.9% of the vote. And finally, there were 3 candidates competing for the DPS board director seat representing District 4. District 4 includes North Central and far Northeast Denver, and here are the current results. Tay Anderson with 24.4% of the vote, Rochelle Espiritu pulling in 32.5%, and Jennifer Bacon with 42.9% of the vote. That wraps up the candidate choices on this year's ballot. Let's turn now to the other decisions voters were asked to make this November. Next on the ballot were several city issues. First was a series of questions on general obligation bonds, also known as GO bonds. These are referred questions 2A through 2G. They appeared separately on the ballot, and voters were asked to decide on each one separately as well. Remember, these results are the current numbers as of the time of this recording. So for referred question 2A, which would approve over $431 million for transportation and mobility system improvements, 72.8% of the voters have said yes, and 27.2% have said no to this question. Next, for referred question 2B, which would approve over $116 million for Denver cultural facility improvements, 67.9% of the voters have said yes, and 32% have said no to this question. The next referred question was 2C, which would approve $75 million for a new Denver Health and Hospital Authority ambulatory care center. 66.5% of the voters said yes, and 33.4% of the voters have said no to this question. Next on the ballot, question 2D, a $77 million package for Denver's public safety system. 70.3% of the voters saying yes, with 29.9% of the voters turning this proposal down. Question 2E asked voters to approve $69 million for Denver's library system. 69.5% of the voters said yes, and 30.5% of voters turned this request down. The next question was number 2F, which sought $151 million for Denver's parks and recreation system. As of now, 70.2% of the voters said yes to 2F, with 29.7% of the voters saying no. The last of the general obligation bond questions was number 2G, which is a $16 million package of funds for improvements and repairs to Denver's public facilities system. The current results say that 65.4% of the voters said yes to 2G, with 34.5% of voters saying no. Completing this year's ballot was Initiated Ordinance 300, which was brought by citizens. This ordinance would require every building with a gross floor area of 25,000 square feet or greater built after January 2018 to include a green roof or a combination green roof with solar energy collection roof. The current results as of 9 p.m. show 51.2% of voters saying yes to this ordinance, and 48.7% of voters saying no. That wraps up this look at the results for Denver's 2017 coordinated election. For the latest and ultimately final results of this coordinated election, go to denvergov.org/election results. Thanks for making your voice heard and voting. I'm Rebecca Jacobson, and look for our regularly scheduled edition of Your City Now this Friday.